Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this press conference to conclude the Informal Trade Council with Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Hadja Labib, and Executive Vice President and Commissioner for Trade, Valdis Dombrovskis. Tous les deux vont faire une déclaration d'abord et après on va prendre quelques questions. Madame la ministre, vous avez la parole.
Merci beaucoup. Donc voilà, on vient de clôturer la réunion informelle des ministres européens du commerce. On avait pris l'initiative d'organiser cette réunion en tout début de présidence belge de l'Union européenne afin de préparer au mieux la 13e conférence ministérielle de l'Organisation mondiale du commerce qui aura lieu, vous le savez, à Abu Dhabi les 26 et 29 février prochains. Alors, vu l'importance que l'Union européenne et la Belgique attachent au bon fonctionnement de l'OMC comme pilier du système commercial international basé sur des règles, il est essentiel évidemment pour nous de bien préparer ce rendez-vous. Surtout que, vous le savez aussi, le multilatéralisme est mis sous pression, voire remis en cause par certains. Il est donc d'autant plus crucial pour des acteurs comme l'Union européenne de tout faire pour maximaliser les chances de succès d'une telle conférence ministérielle. C'est pourquoi, avec mes collègues, nous avons longuement échangé hier et aujourd'hui sur des dossiers en cours à l'OMC et sur tous les efforts qu'on peut faire pour à la fois coordonner nos voix et multiplier aussi notre outreach sur les autres pays. Alors hier soir, on a eu l'occasion déjà de nous entretenir avec la directrice générale de l'OMC, le docteur Ngozi, qui a répondu favorablement à notre invitation. Elle est venue hier soir à Bruxelles pour rencontrer les ministres européens du commerce et faire le point donc ensemble sur les 5 semaines qui nous restent pour préparer la 13e ministérielle d'Abu Dhabi. Alors, on a réitéré nos engagements forts, d'abord en faveur évidemment de l'OMC ainsi que nos priorités pour cette ministérielle. On a eu aujourd'hui 2 grandes sessions de travail. Je vais vous faire un court résumé de la première session. Tout d'abord, on a souligné la nécessité d'une réforme du mécanisme de règlement des différends pour le bon fonctionnement de l'OMC. Nous avons également convenu de l'importance de lancer un programme de travail sur la question des subventions industrielles. Enfin, on a réitéré la volonté d'avancer sur la 2e partie de l'accord sur les subventions à la pêche et de prolonger à nouveau le moratoire et le programme de travail sur le commerce électronique. Mais le commissaire Dombrovskis élaborera davantage sur ces éléments dans un instant. 2e session de travail, c'était sur l'autonomie stratégique ouverte, une priorité transversale de la présidence belge qui est particulièrement importante dans le cadre de notre politique commerciale. Il s'agit notamment de poursuivre les discussions entamées sous les présidences précédentes dans le contexte géopolitique et géoéconomique que nous connaissons. Cette problématique est évidemment plus que jamais d'actualité. La diversification de nos échanges commerciaux, de nos chaîne d'approvisionnement est capitale pour nous permettre de réussir notre double transition écologique et numérique. Nous avons besoin bien sûr des matières premières critiques, des critical raw materials comme pour les batteries de nos véhicules électriques ou nos semi-conducteurs. Nous devons dès lors plus que jamais développer des nouveaux partenariats avec des pays qui disposent de ces matériaux critiques et qui sont en même temps fiables pour assurer nos approvisionnements. Comme celle de l'Union européenne, l'économie belge dépend beaucoup du commerce international. Il faut savoir que chez nous, dans le secteur privé, 1 emploi sur 3 est créé grâce au commerce international. Donc on a une économie extrêmement ouverte. On doit la maintenir ouverte sans être toutefois naïf. C'est pourquoi depuis quelques années, on a développé des instruments pour que l'Union européenne puisse se défendre aussi en cas de besoin. Alors, avec mes collègues et le commissaire Dombrovskis, nous avons abordé aussi les grands défis qui se posent. Nous avons également échangé sur la dimension de la sécurité économique, alors que nous attendons des propositions de la Commission dès demain. Le commissaire Dombrovskis vous en dira plus aussi sur ce paquet screening, etc., qui est en train d'être préparé. Ensuite, sur les divers en actualité internationale, on a évidemment analysé l'impact de la situation en mer Rouge sur le commerce international. Les attaques des rebelles Houthis sont extrêmement inquiétantes et ont déjà des impacts assez lourds en fait, même si ça ne se fait pas encore ressentir sur ce qu'on appelle le panier de la ménagère. Il y a déjà un impact dû au contournement de la région, à l'insécurité qui règne sur le transport maritime international. La Commission a tenu à informer les États membres sur cet impact. Je suis sûre que Valdis vous donnera quelques chiffres, quelques pourcentages qui doivent vraiment attirer et maintenir notre attention et ça risque d'avoir vraiment un impact sur nos chaînes d'approvisionnement. Enfin, lors du déjeuner de travail, on s'est entretenu avec Bert Lang, le président de la Commission INTA du Parlement européen, pour discuter des différents dossiers encore sur la table avant les élections prévues donc, de juin prochain. Cela concerne d'un côté tous les dossiers législatifs, comme le règlement du système des préférences généralisées, et de l'autre, l'assentiment du Parlement pour différents accords commerciaux, comme ceux sur le Chili, le Kenya et encore l'Angola. Bon, le calendrier est serré, on en a tous bien conscience pour plusieurs dossiers, mais on est assez engagé, volontaire. On a retenu un mot-clé qui est flexibilité et j'espère faire passer aussi la notion de compromis à la belge pour avoir un travail vraiment fructueux entre la Commission, le Parlement et le Conseil. Puis on a parlé aussi, enfin, sur le renouvellement des mesures commerciales en faveur de l'Ukraine, qui a évidemment besoin de notre soutien. Voilà, je cède maintenant bien volontiers la parole au commissaire Dombrovskis pour élaborer, aller plus en détail sur ces points et on répondra ensuite à vos questions. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me begin with the discussions on preparations of WTO Ministerial Conference MC13. With less than 5 weeks till opening of MC13, we entered the final stretch of discussions on key files. We had already engaged intensively and will continue to do so until the Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi itself. We had useful exchange with WTO Director General Dr. Gose Okonjo-Iweala yesterday. The EU has fundamental interest in a strong and reformed WTO, which can effectively respond to the trade challenges and issues of the 21st century. The existing WTO rules, which still govern the majority of global trade, are our best guardrail against global economic fragmentation. The WTO must remain fit for purpose, so we need to build on the WTO reform efforts launched at MC12. So first, the reform of dispute settlement system. This is critical for overall legitimacy of the WTO, and it's necessary to stop further erosion of trade rules. It also provides stability for companies to be able to invest and export. So we would expect MC13 to deliver on the dispute settlement reform, or at the very least bring us closer to that objective and offer a clear perspective for finding a solution. Second, we must revitalize WTO negotiating function to ensure that WTO rulebook is up to date through new multilateral agreements and through flexible plurilateral agreements. This would mean we can better tackle key issues such as green and digital transitions. Related to those, I would flag two outcomes we would seek at MC13. Extending the moratorium of e-commerce, important for our businesses and for the global economy, and an agreement on phase 2 of fisheries subsidies. A deal that protects our oceans while also upholding EU interests that will be challenging, but it's certainly possible. The WTO must also offer space for members to address new global trade challenges. Key issues here include the nexus between trade and industrial policy and state interventions of the economy, and trade and the environment. So this is what concerns the WTO deliberative function. We also took a broader look at the EU trade policy with the discussion on open strategic autonomy. The concept of open strategic autonomy has been guiding our actions in trade policy for most of the mandate. This means focusing on an open economy, working cooperatively with others, and strengthening our internal capacities to deal with emerging challenges. But this principle has been put to the test by numerous geopolitical, economic, and climate-related challenges over the past years, be they COVID-19 pandemic, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, or increasing US-China tensions. At the time of geoeconomic fragmentation, we run the risk of falling short of our economic ambitions and our sustainability and geopolitical goals. Tomorrow we'll present a package of proposals on economic security. This put flesh on the bone to the economic security strategy we launched in June. So we need to reconcile open trade with our security imperatives. Trade policy more generally has a big role to play here, both helping us to boost economic competitiveness through better access to markets and critical inputs, contributing to supply chain resilience through more diverse sources of supply, and strengthening our geopolitical presence through active engagement with our trade partners. Indeed, a clear example of the geopolitical role of our trade policy can play in our program to support Ukraine in a phase of Russia's unprovoked invasion. EU measures to facilitate Ukrainian goods exports to the EU and Ukrainian agricultural goods to the world have played a vital role in keeping Ukraine's economy going, while 12 rounds of sanctions against Russia have been instrumental in making Russia feel the consequences of its aggression. The importance of trade policy is reflected in our strong position in the world trade. The EU is the biggest global trade actor, exporting over 3.1 trillion euros in goods and services, and importing 2.8 trillion euros. Over the past 10 years, the EU has been also the main trading partner for Asia, Africa, and our neighborhood countries, and remains the largest trade partner for the US. Here in the EU, our exports support 38 million jobs, so almost 1 in 5 jobs in the EU depending on exports. We will continue to use our trade policy tools effectively across the board. We have recently concluded 5 trade negotiations, free trade agreements with New Zealand, Chile, and Kenya, our first ever sustainable investment facilitation agreement with Angola, and an agreement with Japan on data flows. We're negotiating further agreements with India, Indonesia, Australia, Mercosur, Thailand, amongst others. Indeed, the conclusion of negotiations with Mercosur is within reach before the end of this mandate, so we will work to seize this opportunity, which is certainly of major geopolitical importance. There are also other flexible forms of engagement, like the Trade and Technology Councils with the United States and India, negotiations of digital trade agreements with South Korea and Singapore. Finally, we will continue with assertive implementation and enforcement, including make use of our autonomous tools so that we can actually make the best out of the agreements we negotiate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On a le temps pour quelques questions. Please state your name and the media you work for. Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Antonia Zimmermann from Politico. I have a question on the economic security package that we're expecting tomorrow. Now we're heading into elections, and it's also quite clear that member countries don't really see eye to eye necessarily on just how much of a role the Commission should play. So I'm wondering, does this package that you're presenting tomorrow really come at the right time?
As regards our economic security strategy and economic security package to be presented tomorrow, we must face the fact that we are currently in a more geopolitically conflictual world as in previous years. Correspondingly, we also need to improve our ability to operate within this geopolitically confrontational situation. It obviously means strengthening our own security and defense capabilities, but it also means strengthening our economic security, and that's where our economic security strategy comes in, and where our tomorrow's package comes in. So clearly there is a distribution of competences which has to be respected between EU and member states as regards national security, which is primarily the competence of member states, and so we need to be precise in tackling this interplay between economic and security. But in any case, we see that in a current geopolitical situation, EU is a stronger player if we are acting together on all those subjects, and if we are coordinating our actions, and that's in a sense the direction of the proposals and white papers we'll be presenting tomorrow. And also, just a last point on this, that we need to be targeted and proportionate, that we are doing a proper risk assessment, understanding exactly what are the risks we need to address, what are the best tools to address it, so that economic security does not become a pretext for protectionism.
Yes, please. Yeah, Philip Blenkinsop of Reuters. You obviously had a discussion about the Red Sea, and I think, Minister, you said that, maybe you can kind of give an overview of the discussions. You said that the impact was already, I think you said, assez lourd, so basically already quite heavy. Commissioner, earlier you were saying that maybe the impact hadn't been felt quite so much. So maybe you can give an assessment of what other people in the room were saying, but also have we seen an impact? What is the impact so far? And what is how long do we have to wait until we're really seeing problems, particularly for the EU economy? Because obviously we're very reliant on trade from Asia or with Asia through Suez.
Indeed. The freedom of navigation is essential for the EU because we are the single biggest trader of goods after China, and it matters for the world trade as well. Overall, 12 to 15% of the world trade flows and 25 to 30% of global container traffic go through the Red Sea. So we are currently monitoring the situation in the corridor. The traffic in the Red Sea decreased by 22% in 1 month, but did not stop entirely. And the decrease should be bigger now that the shipping companies are rerouting their vessels around the Cape of Good Hope. At the same time, of course, it's important that we take actions to protect ships. As we know, there are already international partners actively working on protecting the ships and ensuring the freedom of navigation in Red Sea, and the EU member states are also discussing the monitoring, the maritime mission in this context to join this international effort. So far, there cannot be visible impact on energy prices and more generally impacts on good prices. But we already see impact on transport prices, which have increased. Well, but the broader economic impact on consumer prices and EU economy in general will depend very much on the length of this crisis. Hence, swift action is necessary, and that's what the international community, in a sense, is already doing. Well, we will be updating our economic forecast next months, where we'll, ready to extent possible, will factor in the risks of disruption also in the Red Sea.
And as you may have read on the press, Belgium will also be involved on the operation for protection in the Red Sea.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Léa Marchal from Agence Europe. Another question on the economic security, but in particular on the FDI, the Foreign Direct Investment Screening Mechanism. Do you hear in the room from the member states that do not have such a mechanism yet reluctance to have a fully harmonized system where all member states have a mechanism in place? Do you hear opposition to that? And another question on the e-commerce moratorium on WTO side. Commissioner, you mentioned that you expect a decision on the renewal of the moratorium at the MC13, but I had the feeling that Dr. Ngozi was saying that nothing was expected by the end of the year yesterday, she said, I think. So could you be more specific on the steps and if we could actually have a decision on the renewal next month? Thank you.
So on the first question, indeed, as part of our package tomorrow, we are going to have a legislative proposal on revision of the FDI screening regulation. The FDI screening regulation has been in place already for several years, and we have screened, if I'm not mistaken, around 1,200 transactions. So there is a certain degree of experience already, so we can identify the shortcomings and the ways to make the system more efficient, more focused on the risks which we need to be addressed, but indeed also extended to all EU member states. Well, I leave obviously for Minister to comment as a debate in a council on this specific topic, but generally speaking, there were no extensive kind of feedback from member states because it was not a formal presentation of the package. It was in a sense a preview. The Commission will unveil the package tomorrow, and then also the member states will be able to familiarize themselves with the documents, with the package itself, and then provide already more detailed comments. On the second question on extension of e-commerce moratorium, indeed that's one of the priorities for the EU. We believe that it is within the reach. On the parallel, we also need to deliver on e-commerce work program, and in a development dimension in that work program for us to be successful in this extension. But that's clearly, I would say, one of the expectations of the business community out of this ministerial, and also what Dr. Ngozi has been commenting on economic importance of this extension, because digital trade is actually now growing substantially faster than trade in general, so its economic importance only continues to increase. So in a sense, from that point of view, moving away from e-commerce moratorium, imposing customs duties on electronic transmissions would be a step backwards.
Yes, Politico.
Thank you, Koen Verhelst for Politico. I have a question on next week's Trade and Technology Council with the US. Since there will be another one in April, we understand this upcoming one will be a bit downsized from a normal situation from the TTC between the two sides. How do you look forward to it? What will be the deliverables? And Mr. Dombrovskis, will you be traveling yourself to Washington for this? Thank you.
Yeah, maybe to start with the last question. Indeed, I plan to travel to Washington, D.C. for the Trade and Technology Council. In terms of deliverables on the trade side, I would stick with the trade side. I would say the main point is advancing further our transatlantic initiative on sustainable trade, which we had been, in a sense, launching in previous TTT councils, and also establishing the work program. So it's important we are making progress on this initiative, and we are also planning to hold a stakeholder event on this transatlantic initiative of sustainable trade in Washington, D.C.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's it for today. Thank you for your time, and we hope to see you very soon.
Thank you.
Oui.